The world today is not run by those who know, but by those who learn, because those who know possess obsolete knowledge that no longer works in today's world. What your grandfather and great-grandfather succeeded in no longer applies today. There was a time when selling wagon wheels and carriage wheels made a lot of money. Today, unless you sell tires, because carriage wheels are only in museums, you won't make anything. Your great-grandfather may have made a lot of money selling carriage wheels, but that doesn't work in today's world anymore. It is much more complex today than it was 20 years ago. Complexity as a whole has increased. Secondly, we live in a fast-paced world, a world of light speed. News breaks, and you immediately have access to it. This happens in real time. Thirdly, we live in an uncertain world. It is useless to plan for 10 years ahead because you will have to change your strategy depending on what happens. Sometimes the unexpected occurs, and we must be prepared for this uncertainty. We don't know what to expect. Suddenly, the Berlin Wall comes down. Suddenly, the dollar goes up. Suddenly, the dollar goes down. Any strategy you made goes down the drain. I really like the example of the Chinese bamboo. You, an internet user, I advise you, when you get home today, to search for Chinese bamboo on Google. You probably won't be able to sleep just from studying and listening to the story of the Chinese bamboo. Chinese bamboo is like this. You plant it, and in the first year, nothing happens. In the second year, nothing happens. In the third year, nothing happens. In the fourth year, nothing happens. In the fifth year, it grows 12 meters above the ground, suddenly 12 meters above the ground. You might say, how interesting. It is interesting, but if you are more perceptive, you will see that if you look below the surface, there is a root that starts to grow. In the second year, nothing happened, but the root grew. In the third year, nothing happened, but the root grew. In the fourth year, nothing happened, but the root grew. And in the fifth year, there is a root strong and large enough to support 12 meters above the ground. This is something we need to teach our young people. Rome wasn't built in a day. Young people have great anxiety for things to happen quickly. Then you show them the example of Chinese bamboo. Bamboo waited patiently for 5 years to have the success it has and rise 12 meters above the ground. This is a letter, a document showing that I will translate for you in Portuguese. Your application for the doctorate was not accepted this time, and therefore you are not eligible for the position of associate professor. In conclusion, we find your hypothesis to be more artistic in nature rather than physical. This is dated 1903, when Albert Einstein tried to become a professor in Switzerland, and this is what he received. He is considered by many to be the most intelligent man of the 20th century. What distinguishes a professional from an amateur is persistence and patience. The dawn only comes after the whole night has passed. Never let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm not asking what you can't do. I want to know what you can do in the situation you're in with the knowledge you have. You have to start somewhere. You can't wait to be super to start. You start, and the best master is the universe itself. Nothing teaches better than your own experience. Of course, if you take advantage of others' experiences, you shorten the learning process. Today more than ever, there is a great need for self-learning. If you depend on a teacher to teach you, you only reach where your teacher reached. If you learn to learn on your own, which is simple to do, just start, the sky is the limit. Your limit will be your potential. Not everyone is born with the same potential for this to happen. We must keep an open mind, which is like a parachute. It only works when open. There was a time when the earth was believed to be flat. It was thought that ships would travel the seas and, at some point, fall off the edge of the world. Most ships did not return, so it was believed they fell off the edge of the world. When the concept that the world was round was introduced, you could now take a trip around the world on a round Earth. When the paradigm shifted from a flat world to a round world, possibilities multiplied. What is impossible in your life today is impossible within the paradigm you are living in. If you change the paradigm, possibilities multiply. If there is something you think is impossible, it is impossible within the paradigm you live in. If you change the paradigm, possibilities now appear. Knowing what consciousness is knowing I don't know and not knowing I don't know. There is something I don't know how to do, but I don't know that I don't know how to do it. That is the first step. The second step is I know that I don't know. The third step is I know but don't know that I know. If you know but don't know that you know, it's like you don't know. It's the person who, at 75 years old, discovers they are a great painter. They knew but didn't know they knew. If you have a skill but don't know you have that skill, it's as if you don't know. Finally, we have the fourth step, which is knowing and being conscious that you know what you know. This is very important and has to do with your competency in action, not with accumulating information. If you go to Guarulhos Airport, board a plane from Sao Paulo to New York, and the flight attendant says, "Ladies and gentlemen," the person in the pilot's cabin is not a pilot, but they have many opinions on how to fly a plane. Would you stay on the plane? No, you wouldn't. You don't care who read books or has opinions on how to fly a plane. You want to know who can take off, fly, and land safely in New York. This is called action competency. What we should be providing for our students is not abstract knowledge because it goes in one ear and out the other. If you graduated over 10 years ago, if I brought you back to your college and gave you the same final exam you took when you graduated, I guarantee you wouldn't score half the grade you did back then because much of that abstract knowledge you learned no longer exists in your brain. It vanished. What really remains is what you have in action competency. If you learned to swim 20 years ago and haven't swum since, if I put you in a pool now, you will swim. If you learned to ride a bike 30 years ago and haven't ridden since, if I give you a bike, within minutes, you will be riding it because that stays with you for life. That translates into action competency. Things happen in life when we combine motivation with strategy and opportunity. It's like an individual crossing a tightrope between two buildings. I tell you, 3 things are needed. He needs to want to. If he doesn't want to, he won't walk. He needs to know how. If he doesn't know, he falls. And he needs a tightrope. Wanting is motivation, knowing is strategy, and the tightrope itself is the opportunity. I may want to make money, I may know how to make money, but if I never have the opportunity to show this, it won't happen. Opportunities in our life come in 2 ways. Either you go after them, or they come disguised as problems and present themselves to you. So, if you like solving problems, behind every problem lies an opportunity. In 1975, on a Friday, I received a call from a hotel. They said there was a guest there who didn't speak Portuguese well, was having chest pains, and was sweating. Could I go there as a cardiologist? I said I was leaving for a long weekend and suggested they call someone else. They said they had already called 2 doctors who said the same thing. I said, "Okay, I'm going." I took him to the hospital. He asked me, "Do you know my son?" I replied, "Who is your son?" He said, "My son is the head of cardiology at Harvard. His name is Peter Morocco." I said, "I don't know your son personally, but I know his books and works. I study through his works." 48 hours later, his son flew from Boston to help take care of his father. I will cut the story short. I ended up at Harvard, not through merit, but because of the opportunity life gave me that day. When I was called, nobody told me I was going to attend to the father of the head of cardiology at Harvard, who would later come to Brazil, and that I would end up being invited to go there. No, I only knew I was going to attend to someone. Look how interesting. Opportunity comes disguised as problems. Behind every problem, an opportunity is waiting. This must be taught. Learn to like problems because problems are our best friends. They make us grow. We need to be open to this perspective because everything important that happens in your life appears at a 90-degree angle. If you were asked what the 3 best things that happened in your life so far are, I guarantee you that at least 2 of the 3 were unplanned. You didn't wake up one day and say, "Today I will meet someone, start dating, fall in love, and get married." It didn't happen that way. You went somewhere, met someone, dated, fell in love, and married. Look how interesting. Life surprises us. You must be open to this perspective that important things in life happen at a 90-degree angle. The importance of a goal is not to achieve it. The goal helps us get moving. In this process of moving, at a 90-degree angle, much more important things will occur. I would like to end with a story. Once upon a time, there was a writer who lived by the sea. Every morning, he would walk along the beach. One day, he saw a young man picking up starfish that had washed ashore and throwing them back into the ocean. He approached the young man and said, "Why are you doing this? The beach is covered with starfish. Throwing one back into the ocean won't make any difference overall." The young man picked up another starfish, threw it into the ocean, and said, "It made a difference for that one." The next morning, The writer joined the young man, and together, they started throwing starfish back into the ocean. I don't know the impact this conversation will have on you, but if it makes a difference to one of you, I will be satisfied. Thank you very much.